David Baye here for MuscularDevelopment.com. We are in Pittsburgh for the 2014 North Americans. I'm here with the guru, George Farah, wrapping things up from our Friday action. As you guys know, that was men's bodybuilding and the men's physique. We'll get right into it. Your bantamweight winner, Paul Teixeira, lightweight winner, Eduardo Corena, welterweight winner, Mauricio Velasquez Mondragon. This guy was actually pretty impressive for a welterweight. Real big thighs. To me, you know, he came out on stage. My question was, how did he make weight? What did you think about this cat?
You know, actually, when I saw him, I'm like, this guy's a middleweight. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was impressive. And as soon as he walked, I actually, who was sitting next to me? You? I told him, here comes the winner. So you know, it was like you can obvious, yeah.
Yeah, and John Meadows had a guy in the welterweights, Joe Mobarecki, who won the over 35 and the over 40 and got second place in the Open. Look for him to head to nationals. Moving into the middleweights, this is where things got good, and we really got into some high quality competitors. Robert Zavala, who I had predicted earlier was going to win a pro card, I was wrong. You were right. You were right.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to the national, he's definitely going to get his card. Bringing that same condition, that same look.
Yeah, I mean, second place, Nick Cortez on one of Matt Porter's guy. Not the most muscular guy as far as the middleweight goes, but really good aesthetics. And then Jose Rivera Morales, another guy very similar to Nick Cortez, tall for the middleweight division, but good, good conditioning.
He'll be good. He needs to be light heavy.
Yeah, and this show, I mean, is some of the times, on the lower weight classes, we don't see that much.
Early, but now everybody in the middleweight was on.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough middleweight class. Moving into the light heavyweights, this is one of the standouts of the shows to me. Tristan Escalastico had some trouble with that one earlier. This is a guy, in my opinion, who's probably ready for the IFBB, and if he puts on another 10 pounds or so and grows into that 212 class, he's going to be real dangerous.
Yeah, he's going to be good in the 212 for sure. Maybe another 5 pound. In the right places, because his thighs are amazing. His taper is good, chest. I mean, just a few little things you can pick, but not much, and he can definitely be ready.
Yeah, and we talked to this guy afterwards, a guy we didn't interview before because nobody knew who it was. This is his first pro qualifier. He's only 24 years old. He's only been competing for a few years, but he weighed in right at 197, and his conditioning was on the money. So this guy, doesn't have a ton of room to grow into the 212, but enough where he can be really dangerous. Jordan Janowitz, the second place guy, MD did some videos with him. He came in really thick, really full. I won't say he gave Tristan a run for his money, but definitely good for a light heavyweight.
He's definitely good for light heavy, but Tristan kind of separate himself because he had something like nobody have, and one of them is like he's 197, but like he looks like he's 212. Because his legs, everything in his waist. So that's it's all about appearance.
Absolutely. They say shows are won from the back. Tristan turned around, absolutely killed it. I was looking at Jordan, and I think, had Jordan decided to do the USAs as opposed to the North Americans, he might have very well won a pro card, but ran into a very tough Tristan here. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing more of Tristan coming up here in the future. Moving into the heavyweights, kind of an open and shut in the heavyweights with one of your guys, Eric Ramirez. Eric, 11 pounds from nationals in 1 year for a relatively young guy.
Earlier, it was just amazing what he did. But it's all show you, like when you are willing to put the time and the effort and work for it, nothing is impossible.
No, and Eric was the most conditioned heavyweight at nationals last year, so you kind of knew here's a guy who can bring it as far as conditioning. Needed a little bit more size to roll with Jordan and Brad Rowe at nationals, but really nailed it here. Easy first place in the heavyweights. Rounding out the top 5 in the heavyweights, we had Matt Porter, greatly improved from the USAs.
Yes, I think he looked really good. And I like the fact that his shoulder's not blowing up that much. That was a very good move on his behalf. He was good. He was conditioned. I mean, of course, he didn't have the legs and stuff like other guys do, but his condition kind of carried him to put him in the second place.
Yeah. Now in third place we had David Renzel. David Rienzel, not the biggest guy, not the leanest guy, but great symmetry, and he had kind of a balance of everything.
He's another guy. He was 197 last year. Now he's like 215. So we put like 17 pounds on him or whatever. So that's a huge improvement because he wasn't even in the top 15 as a light heavy. You know what I'm saying? And he worked a year with me, and he really busted it to be here. But I still would have liked to see him a little more conditioned It's actually more like maturity because he's still young. So it's more mature muscles so he can get. But you know what? Everybody's here is telling him that he should do the national, and that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, I think he'd do great there. And then rounding out your top five, fourth
Another
place.
one of my guys.
Yeah, Benny Brantley, and we can say this, we can say it all day about Benny. When he brings it, and I don't want to say if, I want to say
The
when.
thing is, I can't blame Benny. It's not like because you say when he brings it. I mean, everybody works with me. They have to bring it. The problem with Benny, he ran into like some difficult times, some tough things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy just for him from the USA to here, made the little improvement. Still, that was actually a little tougher, believe it or not, heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? So, he still make the top five, So, watch out for him, man. At the national, he's now his mindset is different. He doesn't have those little, parasite around him going on. So, he's going to be ready.
Yeah, and I don't think nobody. Trust me, you guys aren't going to argue that if this guy brings it, he's a shoe-in for a pro card. And Joe Thomas rounding out the top five. Joe's a guy we've seen on the scene for a while. He's he's never really peeled, but he's always in good shape. I don't want to say it like a bad thing. Kind of the same Joe we're used to seeing, but squeezing into the top five is a good place for him.
Yes, it's very good. And me and Joe talked, and I think he's actually leaning towards working with me because he told me, "What do you think I need? What do you?" I said, "Joel, you come in." You have the face, the look, the body, the symmetry. Your condition is always off. I said that's the only reason they're not pulling you up there. His condition was a little better. Actually, let me put it this way: much better than the Masters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but it's still not enough to knock these guys out.
Yeah, no. So that's rounded out those classes. Moving into the super heavyweights. The super heavyweights, there wasn't, a lot of real heavy hitters coming into the show. I mean, John Ward, obviously second place at the USA's, a guy that we thought was going to be in first place. The only other, big name was Dusty Hanshaw. And then we had your guy, Michael Wright, coming out of Texas. Virtually, wasn't on anybody's radar. We saw John Ward get third place. Obviously John getting second at the USA is kind of a favorite coming here. He's got to be a little disappointed with third. Talk to us about, how you saw things play out for John today.
John is an amazing bodybuilding. I mean, he's another guy that as soon as he wins, he's going to do very well on the pro level. I just, didn't like his condition again. I thought actually in USA he looked sharper. He maybe have that little bit extended stomach, but other than that, he was sharp. You know what I mean? He was actually very close to, to actually he could have went either way between him and my boy Nick. Sure. But it's still, you know what I mean? Nick have the edge there. So I said, yeah, this guy bring the same thing. He should shoot in. You know what I'm saying? But wasn't the case.
What was interesting to me with John was, as everybody had commented on John's stomach at the USA's, he did a visibly better job of controlling hhis stomach here, but his conditioning was a little worse. And usually you think, hey, a guy's going to get tighter, his stomach's going to get tighter. So kudos to John. He was a little bit off, but the biggest critique that he had from the USA is being his stomach. He really took control of that, and he's disappointed, and we know that, but he's got a lot of stuff coming for him.
Tell John one thing. He might be disappointed, but you know what? This is going to make him work harder. And John is one of those guys that he's actually going to make better pro than an amateur because he have all the tools. All what you need to do, put it together, and boom.
Michael got second place. Obviously, here's your guy. You wanted to see him walk away with the win. But I think it was pretty close between Michael and Dusty.
It was about like 1 point differential, I guess, from what I'm understanding. That's why they have to rejudge it. I mean, you can't take it away from Dusty. Dusty's been around. He's been really knocking on that. And I'm happy for the guy, man. I welcomed him. I told him welcome to the IFBB because he really deserves it. It's, you like to see a guy that he's been like coming at it, over and over, and then finally do it. So it's really good, and kudos for him.
Yeah, and everybody's, you guys on MD, everybody loves Dusty. He's one of those guys, he's a hard worker. He never has anything real bad to say about anybody. Nice guy. And, we talked a lot. I talked with Bob Chick after the USA's, and we talked after some of the shows last year. What does Dusty have to do? And it was kind of one of these things where he's got to hit the right show with the right competition and just kind of get in stride with, bringing a full package.
He was good. Actually, believe it or not, I kind of liked his package, having the smaller waist, and a little more aesthetic look. And I think Chris Aceto did a phenomenal job with him. Yeah, my guy was a lot harder maybe than him, but the problem, like I said, with Michael, he's like Branch Warren, but he still doesn't have what Branch have, the thickness yet, because he's taller. So you give that guy time with that condition and that stuff is going on. Even that he's not the most aesthetic guy, he's gonna be. But like that was Dusty's show, tonight, and he won.
The overall winner was Eric Ramirez, the heavyweight. The first runner-up was your light heavyweight, Tristan Escalante, and Dusty Hanshaw got that third pro card. That's how it played out in the overall, but all those guys are new IFBB pros. We're going to kind of just go real quick into the Masters division. Last year and in years past here at the North Americans, we've had some real big-name guys who have done the Open and done the Masters. Exactly. Wasn't the case at all this year. Most of the Masters guys were relatively unknowns. The guy who won the overall, James Culberson, the overall winner in the 35 and over heavyweight, pretty impressive guy. I've never heard of him, but he looked good.
He looks good. He looks good. I mean, he looks good for the competition we have up here. But like you said, all those names that I thought they're going to show up, the medal and those, none of them shows up. It's funny. So.
All right, and then the Masters over 40, we had the light heavyweight winner, Mark Duval. He takes the light heavies, obviously, and the pro card. Over 35, over 40, and over 50, only the overall winner got a pro card. The 50 Masters over 50, we had Leon Eastman winning his pro card. Very impressive for a 50-year-old guy. So hats off to all the new IFBB pros. Our physique overall, in the physique class, in the men's open, top two guys in every weight class, or every height class, get a pro card. We're just going to talk about the overall winner, Arash Rabar. Arash looked pretty good. I was impressed with the way he looked. I don't know how much of the men's physique you had a chance to watch. Now, I wasn't quite as impressed with the men's physique as a whole today as I was at the USA's. At the USA's, a lot of guys came out. In each division, there was a handful of guys who really wowed me. Didn't see that as much here today.
Well, you know what? I actually, from looking at it, from my point of view, I thought they didn't have a lot of quality, but the guys that they were quality, like one or two guys, they were amazing.
Right.
And when they compare them for overall, you were like thinking, like who's gonna win? But Arash have that nice look, like the Arabian stallion or whatever. You can't mix it between the Italian and the Arabian. So he's like, he have that nice, cool look to him. A little different, nice taper, good physique, good back. He have the nut to win.
Yeah, and with a little bit better conditioning, I think you'll see Arash do okay at the pro level. The Masters physique is actually going on right now. In order to bring you guys a video in a timely manner, we figured we could get away without doing that, but the results will be online in the threads and everything like that. So if you're wondering who placed where in the Masters physique, just head over to the forums. Adina's got all those updates for you. But for now, that is a wrap. We will be back tomorrow morning for all the women's divisions. As you guys know, they had a men's day and a women's day, so look for the women's bodybuilding, physique, figure, bikini, all those divisions be tomorrow. Prejudging starting at 8 o'clock. Finals set to start at 5. Might get pushed back a little bit later to 6 like we did today, but other way,
looking to get a couple overalls tomorrow.
We'll get it all in either way. So we're going to wrap things up, guys. Once again, this is David Baye with the Guru George Farah, having a very successful night here from the 2014 North American Championships.